Tattoo artists of Reddit, what's the are you f***ing sure about getting this one moment you had with a client? This isn't my story, but a story I was told at a bar. I was talking to a guy while smoking, and he was a tattoo artist. He told me he had a female client who wanted an exit to that said fuck y'all bitches. Your man chose me. He said that he delicately, as politely as humanly possible, got her to agree to just the words he chose me. He said the kicker was telling the woman that the tattoo would be meaningful in different social situations, such as a wedding party. He chose me. Or when going to church. He chose me. The woman agreed and got it tattooed. That artist is smart as fuck. Opposite end of the spectrum. I was 19 and my buddy from the dorms in college decides he wants a tattoo on his stomach of his initials. Think Tupac Thug Life tattoo, but like gothic lettering initial or something. Sounded stupid to me, but whatever. I'm not a tattoo guy. But we go into this tattoo shop that was pretty popular at the beach near us, and he tells the guy what he wants and is looking at pricing and fonts etc. But the tattoo guy starts trying to talk him out of getting his initials and instead says he needs something more eye grabbing like violence, or rage, or mayhem. Something cool. His exact words and suggestions. Strangest interaction by anyone trying to sell anything I have ever seen. To also put some perspective on this was 1999 and my buddy had a puka shell necklace, frosted tips hair, and wore cargo shorts and Ralph Lauren polos every day of his life. He was not the I need a tattoo that says violence on my stomach kind of guy, and that was pretty obvious. Not me, but one of my artists. He said a couple came in and the guy wanted his girlfriend's name tattooed on his chest, like in big writing all across the top of his chest. Him and the owner of the shop flat out said no. He told me they said no because he found out they had been dating for 3 months and the font/design he was wanting made a hard cover up. So they decided they didn't want the tattoo since they knew it screamed coming back in 2 months for a cover up. Not mine, but our tattoo artist's friend. He was indecisive of his first tattoo. So what he did was to take a marker, did some quick scribble on his arm, and said this one. The artist and even his friends went WTF is wrong with you, are you sure? And he indeed was sure. Since then, it has become the symbol of his indecisiveness. Former tattoo artist, a man who looked to be in his late 50s with no other tattoos, came in asking for a black widow on the tip of his penis. He said he wanted to surprise his wife when she got back from her trip that weekend. He didn't seem to be under the influence of anything fueling him to make this ridiculous choice. So I proceeded to tell him it was a horrible idea. Dick skin is not the same as other areas you get a tattoo. It would be painful. He would not want to use his dick while the tattoo was healing. Everything I could think of for him to logically come to the conclusion that it was a bad idea. No dice. I could also tell he was getting off on trying to make me uncomfortable. Small female, mid-20s at the time. I finally said sure and threw out an astronomical handling fee. He frowned and finally walked out the door. Not mine, but a friend's dad. He had a client that wanted Hitler's face on his arm. Let's say he was kicked. I wanted a tattoo on the bottom of my foot so bad. 3 different tattoo artists told me no, and objectively they were right. Cause that's where it's most likely to rub off. Infection chances much higher. It hurts like hell, etc. But I really wanted it. So I did it myself, stick and poke. And it was the worst pain I've ever experienced. But 5 years later it's still going strong. Not a tattoo artist, but was in a tattoo shop where I witnessed a overweight woman asking the tattoo artist to tattoo a mouth with tongue licking lips above her vagina with the words "eat me" above the image. Tattoo artist outright refused. I'm not an artist, by any means. But I went with my younger brother for his first and the artist had a look like he was dying on the inside the entire time. I could see the absolute defeat in the man's eyes when my brother responded with "yeah, that'll show the bitch." What was planned was a gorgeous macaw and some flowers along with a nickname our grandma used to call him before she died. But literally as he's walking back with the artist for final decision, my brother decides the macaw needs to be a skull. The flowers needed to be daggers and the lettering death instead of the nickname. This was being changed because his girlfriend had broken up with him a few days before, and he was angry and this tattoo would be his outlet. The artist was able to come up with something, but it definitely looked thrown together last, and he wasn't happy. The ex never even saw the tattoo. As far as I'm aware, she blocked him and all of his friends and moved back to her home state with her mom. I have a client who are a tattoo artist, and I asked his essentially the same question. He said when he had first started, a woman called asking about a tattoo for her husband. She wanted her husband to get a tattoo of a cowgirl pin-up girl style on his ribs with a barbed wire whip, which is a relatively normal tattoo idea, but the weird part was she wanted the whip to trail across his stomach down his groin and then wrap specifically 3 times around his penis. He said a few of the weird parts was the fact of how many details she had about it wrapping around his penis and the fact that it was the wife calling as well. He said it was one of the weirdest suggestions he had been asked for. Lol. My wife is a tattoo artist. Yesterday she informed me that a friend/colleague of hers was tattooing a donut around someone's asshole. Does this count? Not a tattoo artist here, but I remember this one 16-something-year-old who makes these shitty calling popular at the time character at 3 AM videos getting this tattoo on his forearm that said Savage with a V, being the Maverick bird. Don't ask me why I remember that. I'm not a tattoo artist, but a friend of mine wants to get Ghostface from the Scream movies with a bloody knife and her mother's birthday day next to it. Her mother, who would have thought, is not amused. I witnessed a tattoo artist attempt to talk a guy out of a tattoo while getting one. This guy, who was maybe early 30s, came in. He was super awkward and had a few other people with him. They were obviously drunk. He explained to the artist he wanted a Hello Kitty tramp stamp the size of a CD. His friends all laughed and started to record this guy. The artist asked him why, and he said his friends thought it was funny. The artist tried to talk him out of it. He ended up getting the tattoo. I think about this poor guy who was obviously doing this to fit in with his crowd of friends, and how he has to live with a tramp stamp of Hello Kitty. A misunderstanding between the receptionist, myself and the artist had the artist come out of the back and say I'm not doing that. I don't have the time and I don't generally do drug tattoos. I had gone in and booked an appointment saying I wanted half bucket tinny BDE and an Xbox achievement unlocked on my ribcage. The receptionist scheduled me for the time it would take to do half-baked really tiny, so when I went in several days later and started to explain what I wanted, the artist got really mad and said you might as well just get a ducking pod leaf. I don't have time for that until I explained that my best friend had passed away and his gamer tag was half-baked tiny and BDE was for best you'd ever, and we were big video gamers together. She turned red, apologized profusely, and rushed me back and did a great job with a big discount and told the people coming in after me that she was accidentally double booked, so they would have to wait. Not a tattoo artist, but I'm an idiot. I was 19 and super into piercings and tattoos. I'd had both my nipples double pierced, a plus one side and a X the other. Decided the finishing touch would be to get the Punisher skull tattooed above the diagonal piercings. Skull and crossbones. So cool. Told the guy what I wanted and he flat out said no way in hell am I doing that shit. I was mad but wanted a tattoo, so instead got the skull on my calf. 19-year me was pissed it didn't happen. 29-year me is so grateful that guy didn't let me go through with it. My current college job is at a tattoo place in El Paso. I basically had to make sure people were sure that the design they sent was the one they wanted. One dude wanted to have Mia Khalifa tattooed on his ass crack. Not on the ass cheek, but literally on his asshole. I had to say that was not possible. I don't know if this qualifies, but I will still post it here. My 74-year-old grandma wanted me to tattoo a cat on her neck. I asked this question. She said yes. My grandma now has a Siamese cat on the side of neck. You don't tell grandma no. And she looks dope. One girl on Twitter got a ray gun from zombies tattooed all the way down her forearm. I think she was 20 when she did that. Oh boy, I was traveling through Germany in my late teens and had a few too many liters of beer when I stumbled into a tattoo shop demanding a flaming pentagram held by a demon's hand with a banner of my name under it. I'd been carrying a sketch for months The shop owner asked me, "Bist du der SEHR sicher?" And I kinda had a moment there. I said, sorta tentatively, "Yes." And he turned me away immediately. Too drunk to consent. Saved my life. Not an artist, but my buddy was living with this girl. She decides to get his name tattooed on her arm. I tried to change her mind, but she was hellbent on getting it done. It wasn't even healed before he moved out. I asked him why he let her do it, and he shrugged and said she was crazy. He told her not to do it once, and if she did it then it was on her. Not an artist, but the artist that did my leg told me about an 18-year girl who wanted a Guxy Mane style ice cream cone on her face for her first tattoo. He said that she was insistent, and he told her no, especially since anything on the face is called a job killer. One of my best friends is a tattoo artist and a real pro. She's much older than me, but we became close when I was 15. I asked, begged her for a tattoo when I was 16, and she agreed as long as I got parental permission. My mom was done arguing with me by then and said, whatever. So I picked out what I remember feeling extremely passionate about, a fairy looking back with tons of swirls and sparkles as a huge tramp stamp. She laughed at me and argued that this in no way represented who I really am, and that it would be almost impossible for her to endorse. I was very persuasive, and so she agreed to do it in a beautiful pencil-like way so that she could cover it up when I was grown and wanted to. It looked awesome to me, so I was easily persuaded. Kept that dumb shit for 20 years and now I'm 3 several hour sessions in on a half back cover up, and man is it cool that the fairy is gone. Thanks Andrea! Exclamation mark. Polo Ralph Lauren emblem on his chest. Please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.